Hey everybody, Fang here again with another tutorial on digital painting, and this time we're going to continue the series from last tutorial, which is these black and white studies that are done very quick and live in front of the students. Here we have another kind of very fun image of a monster attacking a ship, and I'll show you, of course, the starting of this from the student, which actually looks quite different from this. I thought it was a fun image to show. We get some creature. We've been doing some hard surface stuff. Let's get to some soft, kind of funny things here. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the layer that the student did. All right, so here we go. Boop. Right, you can see very silly, right? Not the best in the world. Quite cartoony. A lot of stuff is not so great here. And this one started with the photo plate. You can see there's a photo underneath this image, obviously, but the student kind of painting some rocks and stuff, character. But actually, the student did know some stuff, which is good. I mean, this is also part-time certificate classes, so they're not full-time, so they obviously can't absorb everything. But the kind of stuff we're teaching, they're starting to put in there. But it's not great. The student doesn't draw particularly well, not much strength in perspective. But some stuff is there. For example, we have the foreground. Number one, we have the middle ground, the subject, and our background, which is in the photograph. So at least those things are there, but compositionally or even a drawing or design, none of that's very strong. But it doesn't matter. To me, it's about the story. Does the story look cool? A monster attacking a boat, with a little person being, is that fun? Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's entertaining. So let's take this and let's start from scratch and see how we could make it into a better drawing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off everything. You can see here's the after image here, and this one's not done. I never got to finish his hands. I kind of clean up his face a little bit because this painting I try to do all these under 40 minutes or so. I most go to an hour for these because I want to get to many students as I can in class, so they are done relatively fast. So the hand unfortunately never got finished, neither did this hand over here. Okay, but let me turn these off. Boom. You can see here's a photo plate. This is a class where we're teaching students to basically use a very simple photo plate and paint something on top. So, and also in black and white. We'll get to colors later. Actually, I'll probably do one in the next tutorial. Okay, so here's a plate. Pretty nice, very clean. We cropped it to be a film format, long screen here, widescreen, sorry. And very clean, so it's very open. It's got the ship. I have no idea what this is. Looks like it's half sunken in water, but pretty interesting subject matter. And I'm going to do something very similar to the student, which is a big monster attacking this thing. But the first thing I got to do is do the perspective. So what I did here is find the perspective ship and basically use that to get my camera. And these lines I'm drawing, basically horizon, it's very easy to find in this shot because it's in the picture. The horizon is right here, right? This little sea level line here. This picture is not super straight, but you can see it's basically right here. Okay, that's your horizon line. So all these perspective lines basically have to go to that point, and I got it partially from this ship. Now this creature is an organic thing, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in perfect 90-degree alignment to this ship, but I need something to hold it steady. You can see these are just random lines. When I did these lines, I actually had no idea what the creature would look like. I simply drew them to have a space. You can see I could even start drawing boxes inside these things. Okay. And that just gives me a 3D space, allows me to use my brain to start thinking about what could I possibly put here instead of just drawing it from scratch. So for me, perspective is king. It's everything. Without perspective, it's very hard to eyeball certain things correctly, right? And even this is just a very quick setup. These lines didn't take that much time to do, but it gives you a very good basis, a very good starting point to design and draw from, right? Very much like doing math. If you do 2 plus 2, at least you have 4. It's a simple formula, but it's correct. And then from 4, you get another 2, you get 6, another 2, you get 8. But the whole time you're doing things correctly versus trying to jump into a very complex formula or doing the worst, which is you have the answer, but you have no idea how to get there, so you experiment. It's almost like my answer is 1,285. And I need a formula to get to that. And you just kind of, okay, there's a fraction, and maybe it's plus 3. And this is a very dangerous way to work. And you could kind of bring this analogy into painting, is that if you try to get to this quick without knowing the whole process here, right, or everything's very complex, you kind of guessed and the answer is never going to hit. And it's very frustrating. It takes forever to do this, right, obviously, because it's guesswork. Instead, just do it very simple. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Plus 2 equals 6. And you get more confident, you could be like, okay, now I could do an 8, and that equals 14. And now let's do another 8, and that's 22. But the whole time, it's correct, it's correct, it's correct, it's correct, it's always correct. And if you ever want to stop, say like stop at this stage, or 2 plus 2 equals 4, at least it's correct. And this also allows others to work on it. For example, you're working on a team, and this painting has to be basically passed around the studio, and everyone's kind of doing some stuff on it. If you have this, someone else who knows this math could also continue on. So say you're at 22, and now all the step ahead of it is correct, and you have to plus another 5, you get 27. That's good. They can add on. Whereas this, you give them the answer, you give them half a formula, you go, okay, figure out the big missing gap. They'd be very frustrated, like, how do I do that? So think of painting in a very similar fashion, okay? So that was one long way to explain why I did perspective. Okay, so from that, I could draw this creature. You see here, with the perspective line, I could start sketching. Very quick, little quick drawing, but this creature has perspective in him. He's, whoops, let me not turn that light around. Boom, boom. Okay, so you see there's a center line on him. He's got a spine, he's got volume, he's got this big, thick belly right here, and all that is in perspective. So here I'm seeing the bottom of the horizon line, so I'm seeing, so the curve of his stomach or chest is going to run this way, whereas over here he's above horizon, therefore his curvature of his head is going to run this way. Very, very simple, but a very easy mistake to make without understanding of horizon, which the student actually did. If you look at this one, this image actually completely disregards perspective. As you can see here, he's got some indicated cut lines on the guy's body. They kind of run in all sorts of directions. See, it runs this way and it runs this way, because the student in this case doesn't know how perspective works. They simply want to draw a creature. So here is a very strange form development, right? You're saying that I'm looking up at a creature, but his curve is towards me, but then right away it's now curving away from me. This creates a very strange a design element here, and this is not a design feature. It's simply because I could tell this student here is not very confident with perspective and just guessing. He knows that there's going to be lines going across the creature, but not sure which way to bend those lines, right? Because the horizon is actually just it's right here. But simple as that, they might not know. Okay, so let me get rid of that there. Boom. Okay, get rid of that. Okay, so here it is. Let me just put this below. So, okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, let me lock these layers real quick so we don't accidentally draw on them. Lock all these layers. Okay, turn these off. Okay, so here's your line drawing. Doesn't need to be super nice because whoops, turn on layer. I'll show you what this is all about later. Because I just need this to hold. A painting ultimately has no line work, right? A painting that's completed doesn't have any line to hold the forms. You're going to depend on value only. And I'm hoping that you guys are watching the previous videos, because these do tend to build up, and I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over in every video. So I'm not going to talk about that as much. Okay, so get rid of that. Let's turn on this layer, but turn everything off. So we're back to the beginning stages. So first thing I did is I have line drawing. So I filled that in. This is one way to get a nice silhouette out to check your design. So we can zoom out and say, okay, that's pretty cool. It's nice and big on the page. It's my #1 read. Okay, and I kept this ground here. This is good for our composition because we still have one, which is our foreground. In this case, the rock and his hand. We have 2. This actually is all of this is part of 2. This is all your selling point. And then you got 3 in the background. And compositionally, if we strike a line down the middle, obviously we don't want characters to be here. This falls on the 1/3 line, which is right here. This is where our character is, and it's kind of nice that the 1/3 line also hits the other part of the subject, which is this sinking boat of some kind. Yeah, so it's quite good for composition.